will focus on the business and HR in the Netherlands. Our main speaker, Gerard Koolen, Group Managing Partner at Lugera, will present some of the best insights of how to better organize the workforce in the Netherlands. Before we start, let's go through the technical rules. Please keep your mics on the mute so we avoid the ear splitting feedback. And if you have any questions, kindly address them in the chat box and we will read them at the end of the meeting. So, Gerard, the floor is yours.
Okay, mulțumesc foarte mult. I will share my screen. And do you see it? Do you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it, Gerard.
All right. Okay.
Everything wonderful. Is great.
Wonderful. Okay, welcome everybody to the Netherlands. Well, I hope you will be enthusiastic also when I have finished. But let me start first to get some confusion away, because often people ask me, what is the name of Holland? The Netherlands, or is it Holland? And you are Dutch. Does it mean that you are Deutsch, so from Germany? Well, if you can see here on the right side that the red circled area, that is Holland. It's North Holland and South Holland. And all the other parts are not Holland at all. Those are other provinces. So we people from North Holland or South Holland, we don't mind if you call Holland Holland, but all the others, they don't like that, right? And Dutch, yeah, that comes from Deutsch, and Deutsch is German. And in our national anthem, you won't believe it, but in our national anthem, we are singing that we are from German blood. So we have a close connection to Germany. Basically, we are a small, maybe a small province of Germany. Now, Holland is a tiny country. You know, the surface of Holland is 41,000 square meters, which is 17% only from Romania. And Romania has 238,000 square meters. So we are with a lot of people packed in a little, tiny, small country. And what do Dutch people do? Well, in the morning, they go to work and they are in a car jam. And in the evening, they go back from work and they are in a car jam again. It is funny, but there is 750 kilometers of highway in Romania, while there is 2,790 kilometers of highway in the Netherlands. And every morning and every evening, we have around 400 to 700 kilometers of car jams every morning, every evening. 700 is nearly the same total amount of all the highways in Romania. So you can say that basically Holland is one big highway, right? And what do the Dutch do when they are in a car jam? They shave, they put on their makeup, and they have breakfast because they spend half an hour to an hour in the car. Well, who is working in the Netherlands, right? And I'm hoping that you might consider also to start your company in the Netherlands, or maybe you would like to work in the Netherlands. So who is working in Holland? Well, in Holland, we have 17.4 million people. Romania, 19.2. That's why so many Dutch people love to come to Romania, because here you have space. Because your country is 5 times bigger and you have only a few million more inhabitants. Who works in the Netherlands? We have more than 100 nationalities working in the Netherlands. Most of them, the biggest variety is in Amsterdam, in the big cities. Interesting is that there are around 500,000 people from Poland, Slovakia, Czech Republic, Romania, Bulgaria, but also many Germans, Hungarians, Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian people work in the Netherlands. And if you would like to go to Amsterdam to work or start your business, with English, you can get a long way. You will hear English-speaking people everywhere. In companies, English-speaking people. So with English, you can start your business. You don't even need to speak Dutch. In Netherlands, we have 9 million people employed. And in Romania, there are around 5 to 7.4 million people employed. It is the Romanian statistics, which I saw, are not really specific. Are there 5 million or 7.4? In Holland, there are 9 million people employed, from which 4.5 million are part-timers. In Romania, only 300,000 people work part-time. In the Netherlands, nearly half of the entire working population is working part-time, which means 1, 2, 3, or 4 days. Also interesting in the Netherlands is that half of the working population are flex workers, so temporary staff or contractors, small business like micro company people, so self-employed people, 4.5 million around. In Romania, the guess is around 200,000. What does that mean? It means that the Netherlands is quite a flexible labor market with a lot of options for people meeting their personal wishes. I want to work a lot, I want to work not so much. Yes, please?
No, nothing. Someone had the mic on. So.
Oh, okay, okay. And so there is a lot of flexible employment possibilities. And how does it come that there are so many flex workers in the Netherlands, especially compared to Romania, where there is only around 200,000 people? That is because people people are very picky how they would like to work in the Netherlands. And if you have a flexible job, you have more opportunity to switch from jobs, to do something else, to get a flavor from many different companies and business spheres. So that is where the flexible working in the Netherlands is very popular. It's also popular by companies because it's much nicer if you are a company that you can get your people on flexible terms. And I will talk about it a bit later, some more. The interesting thing is in the Netherlands is that there are hardly companies who do their own payroll. Around 7 million pay slips, so 7 of those 9 million people, 7 million people are being administered. The salary administration is done for 7 million people at another company. I see a remark that it could also be due to the great legislation encouraging small business. Exactly, that's a very good remark, Manuela. Because the Dutch government thinks that if we organize employment very flexible, the labor market is very dynamic. And because of that it is dynamic, it's easy for small companies to hire people and to fire them again so that they don't run a very big risk. And so what you see in the world is where labor legislation is most flexible, those economies are very resilient and very good for change. How do the Dutch work? Well, that's an interesting thing because when I started our company Lugera in Romania, well, that was a big challenge because we nearly went bankrupt 3 times before we really understood how Romania works. But okay, you are Romanian, you want to know how the Dutch work. Well, the Dutch like to organize everything into every little detail. And you can get crazy of the detail orientation in the organizations they have. Businesses translate everything into money, everything. I was lately with a client. They produce cabbage, or they grow cabbage in the Netherlands. And I asked the guy, how much does it cost per acre to harvest all the cabbage? And the guy knew exactly how much his cost price was, how fast they worked, etc. He didn't have to look at the spreadsheet. And Dutch entrepreneurs, they have all their figures in their head. They just know it. And Dutch people translate everything into money when talking about business, of course. And there is a difference between the Romanian attitude and the Dutch attitude of focus. If I talk to a Romanian client, they usually ask me, how much does it cost? And based on what they hear for the Romanian client, it's good or it's not good. The Dutch purchaser looks at how much does it cost also, but more important is, what is my profit on it? What is the return on investment? And I told you before that around 7 million people get a pay slip from an outsourced company. In Romania, that's a little amount. So not many companies, for example, outsource their payroll administration to another company. Because I think the Romanian purchaser looks at what does it cost me, and I'd rather do it in-house. The Dutch person looks at what does it cost me, and what is the profit I have if I outsource it. And for example, with payroll, you see that if you do it yourself, you will pay per pay slip, let's say 20 euro to 30 euro. If you outsource it, you do it for 7 euro. So the Dutch person would always outsource it. And that's why all the payroll administration, for example, is outsourced. So Dutch people never look at only cost. They look much more to the return on investment, because a big cost price is irrelevant if you don't know what the profit is. If the profit is even much bigger, then it is a cheap bargain, whatever you pay. If you make a loss on it, it's an expensive bargain, whatever you pay, right? The fourth thing, how Dutch work, is that Dutch negotiate and negotiate and negotiate. Also, if you have a contract. So we have Dutch clients that when we introduce people, and they hire our candidates, and they should pay the price you agree in the agreement. Well, with Dutch people, no way. Because they will say, you were so fast in introducing your client, you can give me an extra discount. Or if you are not fast, but it took a long time, they say, you were so late introducing this candidate, so you should give us a discount. They negotiate, negotiate, and negotiate. So please, if you go to Holland and you start your business or you sell something to Dutch people, be prepared that they will try to negotiate again and again and again. Or they say, listen, what if I pay now? Do I get an extra 3% discount from you? Dutch people love to negotiate, and they are relentless in it. And you can really become angry and annoyed by it, but don't take it personal. It is in the blood of the Dutch person. He can't help it either. He's raised like that. Dutch love to innovate. They have, and they make a lot of patents. I put here the figure from around 2,228 patents over the last 40, 50 years. 60 years, Romania 881. This is still about nothing if you compare it to the patents which are coming from the United States. They love to innovate. Here you can see how people like to organize everything into little small details. Nothing in the Netherlands is natural. There is every single square meter is being planned, is thought about, and they have planned and manipulated just everything, right? And this is the way the Dutch mind works. The Dutch mind is very straightforward. It's planned. Everything has its place. Everything has its purpose. And that is often a big difference with my Romanian colleagues, where I would like to have it planned and in order and in a neat order and predictable. My Romanian colleagues get completely miserable if they just think about that, right? So what is Holland good at? And here you see strawberries and agricultural production. Holland is also good in shoes and textiles, like CNA is a Dutch company, and they are huge. And what you maybe didn't know that is 30% of all the shoes sold in the world are coming from Dutch companies. 70% of the cheese in Greece is coming from Dutch companies. 30% from all the cheese in France is coming from Dutch companies. Then the biggest oil company is Shell. And Heineken is, of course, also a famous Dutch brand. By the way, did you know that Heineken paid 60 million euro for advertising with the new James Bond movie? 60 million euro. So they make a lot of money on beer. The Netherlands has also the biggest temporary staffing agency in the world. And, I made a mistake with the picture. This is Lugera. We are not the biggest staffing agency in the world, but it is Randstad. So Holland has around 20 companies in the top 1,000, Fortune 1,000 companies in the world. This is a beautiful picture from Booth. This is one of the biggest export products from the Netherlands. But maybe that you don't know this, but all these flowers, the tulip fields, the flowers are not sold. The flowers are just thrown away because they have these fields just for the bulbs. And the bulbs are sold all over the world. So this is not just for decoration. They do this to sell bulbs and to multiply the bulbs. Okay, the Dutch business attitude. If you want to be successful in the Netherlands, you at least have to know the Dutch business attitude. And I already told you that Dutch people, Dutch businesses like to calculate everything translate everything into money. Yeah? How long does it take me? How long does it cost? How much does it cost me? What if I can reduce 2 or 3 steps in this process so that I can make it cheaper? Dutch people all the time look at how can I make it as cheap as possible. And probably that stems from the old times when the Dutch were a world power during the 16th and 17th century. We call it the Dutch, the Golden Age, where the Dutch ships, the warships, were spreading all over the world, stealing and killing and stealing all what they could from all the former colonies, like in Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and wherever they were. Maybe you don't even know it, but New York was called New Amsterdam because the Dutch were the owners of New York. And so it was called New Amsterdam. And until recently, the story goes that the royal Dutch family was owning nearly the entire 5th Avenue in New York. So you can imagine how rich they are. But that stems from those days. And then the Dutch traded New York with the English, and they got Suriname instead. So in South America, there is a little country, Suriname, and the Dutch got Suriname, and they gave New York to the English. So that is the Dutch business attitude. We are traders. But let me tell you something. USA, 115 billion euro. The Netherlands, 95.6 billion. These numbers represent the export of the USA of agricultural products and of the Netherlands of agricultural products. So a country which is around 100 times bigger in size, a country which has a population 20 times or 30 times more than in the Netherlands, that country is exporting nearly the same as the Netherlands. And that is something special. And I think there you can see the strength of the Dutch attitude and the Dutch magic. First of all, Dutch outsource a lot. They are producing very capital intensive. So if we can save manpower into automation or in some smarter stuff, we do that or outsource. If you look at the gross national product of Romania, which is 23,000 and per person per year, and in Netherlands, in Holland, it is around 53,000 per person per year. So a Dutch person is producing more than 2 times what a Romanian person is doing. But is the Dutch person working harder? I don't think so. Yeah? Because in Romania, people have really a great working mentality and they work very hard. The difference is that Dutch companies invest much more in processes. Dutch companies invest in best equipment in order to reduce the manpower they would need. Further, Dutch companies outsource everything they can possibly outsource. Yeah? There is no Dutch company who would even think about doing their payroll themselves. There are hardly Dutch companies who do their entire administration themselves. 50% of all employees in Dutch companies are outsourced to payrolling companies. 50% of all the staff is outsourced to temporary staffing companies, or they are contractors, or the entire activity is outsourced, right? So we outsource a lot because we only want to do what we are really good at, and the rest you hire a professional. The third thing is what I already said, is that the attitude is not only looking at cost, but also looking at the profit of the investment. And if a Dutch entrepreneur doesn't see any profit, no matter how much he likes it or she likes it, it is a no-go. Another thing is that when at work, Dutch really work. So no chit-chat, Dutch focus, focus, focus. And whenever they are ready with work, they run away. It's not like in our offices that when we are ready, we sit with each other here in Romania, and it's just a wonderful, nice atmosphere. Well, that in Holland, it's not so nice and as it is in Romania. The Dutch are very, very organized. Everything is organized into such big detail, because we think time is expensive and we want to do everything always faster and better. The Dutch attitude is also an attitude of traders, a merchant mentality. And that is not always a nice mentality. You will not always find it nice because we always have to push the price down. We always have to go to the edge and probably over the edge, right? And it is often that I heard that people find Dutch very rude, unpolite, because, you know, we are straightforward and we think that we are nice if we tell the truth. And that is basically only shared by Dutch people because it's not really shared by the rest of the world. So even if you think this Dutch person was a rude person, you can be sure that he is trying to be nice to you. But it just doesn't sound nice to you. Sales is in the Dutch DNA. Basically, at all the schools, all the education we do, there is always some sales and marketing in it. We are traders and we always like to make a good deal. Even if you are in finance, if you are in purchase, if you are in accounting, a Dutch accountant would also always try to find the best deal anyhow. Also, an important feature, which is part of the Dutch business attitude, is that you don't spend what you don't have. So many Dutch businesses are very conservative money-wise. So we only start to invest if we have made some money, and that money we invest, but we don't invest more. So the growth of Dutch companies is usually not so fast, but it's very steady and it's very healthy. So we usually don't go to a bank and ask for a big loan and then invest and then we hope to make a profit. No, Dutch do it the other way around. So we spend a little, we hope to make some money, and with the profit we make, we invest again. So that is basically, in short, what I think is the DNA of the Dutch business attitude. Something else is that if you would go to Holland, be aware that Amsterdam is around 3 meters below sea level. And a big part of Holland is under the sea level. And here you see the dikes and the dams which are built in order to stop water from going in. If these will break, then half of Holland will be underwater, and Amsterdam too. So if you go to Amsterdam and you are afraid of water, then please take your swimming gear with you. Now, what about orange? Because many people, they really wonder what it is what we have with orange. And that is that our royal house, the royal house, is the House of Orange. So the House of Orange is a noble house, and well, all the guys from the royal family are called Oranje, which is orange. And maybe you didn't know, but one of the princes in the Netherlands, Bernard van Oranje, Prince Bernard of Orange, he has an IT company in Romania, and they have working here a lot of IT developers, which we have found for them here in Romania. So that is why we have an orange flag above our national flag. What is also different in the Netherlands, very different from Romania, is the diversity we have of people and the appreciation of different people, like gay people, bisexual people, gender neutral people, and all the flavors you have are greatly welcomed and appreciated and tolerated in the Netherlands. And what I see in Romania is that basically only Romanian people work in Romanian companies. There are not so many foreigners. So if you go to the Netherlands and start your business, be prepared to recruit one of those more than 100 nationalities who will apply for jobs. So then competition in the Netherlands. Competition in the Netherlands is fierce. And I can give you one example. In Holland, there are 23,000 recruitment agencies active, 23,000. In Romania, only 3,000. So even if you think that in Romania there is a lot of competition, then go to Holland, and there you will find what real competition is, because the competition is relentless. I know several friends from Slovakia and Romania who tried to set up a business in the Netherlands, and they were surprised about how mean and evil competitors were. But they really do everything to keep you away from their clients or their prospects. And they will literally, well, not totally literally, but they will try to do whatever they can to block you from stealing their clients. So competition is really relentless. And it is much, much more fierce than what I see in Romania. Then competition that goes for a minimum price, and they try to deliver a top quality. And that's why they have to be very efficient. And that's why a Dutch person produces 53,000. They have to, because otherwise they can't make a profit. So efficiency is key. And you have, in order to be able to compete in the Netherlands, you must be totally efficient to have a low price and to deliver top quality. Clients in the Netherlands are loyal to you until you are too expensive. So we have clients in the Netherlands who just kicked us out because our tariff is 10 eurocent more than a new competitor. And although they love us, although they like us, we are out if they think the difference is too big. And for a Dutch customer, the difference is already too big very fast. Where it's much nicer, I believe, to work with Romanian clients, because you are much more a partner, and you can do with Romanian clients much more development and improving without that there is always the pressure of being 10 or 1 RON cheaper. And I think that is in the end a much smarter approach, by the way. Dutch people in business are very direct. They are very direct. So if they don't like your price, they say, what a stupid price you have. I don't want to work with you. This sucks. When you make a mistake, they call you. They say, hello, Anku. This sucks. This is wrong. You should have not done it. We are pissed off, and do it better next time or we leave. So there is basically no mercy, and it is how I feel it, what I see with the difference in Romania. It is very, very aggressive even. Dutch are also very systematic, and there is a systematic approach. So they are not flexible at all, basically. So you have to fit. If you want to supply something to them, you have to fit within the way they want it. And if you can't deliver it exactly the way they need it, you're out. Because they are very systematic, they are very process-oriented, and everything must really be how they like it. Then, if you would start in Holland, or if you would get a job or looking for a job, there are, of course, the job boards. There is the labor office in the Netherlands, and the labor office is a very active organization. And if you are looking for people to employ, the amazing thing is that if you employ people through the labor office, they have these programs that you can hire these people free of charge for 6 months. Plus, they will reskill and train the people. So can you imagine that if you need a lot of low-skilled labor, or well, any kind of people, you go to the labor office, they will help you to employ all those people who they have in their database. They will train the people for you, and you don't have to pay no salary for 3 to 6 months. You have, of course, the search and selection agencies in the Netherlands, and they charge, like in Romania, 10% to 25% of the yearly gross salary. You have temporary staffing agencies, and of course, a lot Randstad is the biggest. And I think Randstad has in the Netherlands around 200,000 temporary staff working. And the fees are between 5% to 25% on top of the gross annual salary, of the gross salary, the monthly salary. You have contracting agencies, and you have payrolling agencies. And payrolling agencies is what we call outstaffing. So you have 100 people employed on your company, and then the payrolling agencies take over those people and they employ them for you. And that is a very popular service in the Netherlands because although you pay them a fee, in the end, your total cost of employment decreases. And that is why temporary staffing in Holland is so popular, because the Romanian client thinks, well, I have my salary cost, and on top of that, I have to pay a fee for an agency. So it makes my total cost more expensive. But that's not true. And in Holland, and also in America, and in the UK, a smart company, if you calculate it very well, you see that outsourcing employment is much cheaper than employing people yourself. And you see the trend already growing also in Romania and in all the countries, that more and more countries will outsource their employment. If you work with a temporary staffing agency, you really have to watch out, because if your temporary staffing agency in the Netherlands doesn't pay social contributions and taxes, and the tax authorities find that out, and the agency doesn't pay, then the tax authorities can go to your company and you are responsible for paying. So you can end up with paying the agency. The agency doesn't pay taxes and social contributions, but they should do, but they don't, for whatever reason. Then the tax authorities go to you, and then you have to pay, again, the social contributions and the taxes. So watch out in the Netherlands, if you use a temporary staffing agency, make sure that they have a tax account, a G account, they call it, and that they are certified. And if you consider doing this, you can always ask me, call me or email me, and I can help you out with that. Good. How is the salary working in the Netherlands? And that is an interesting topic. Imagine, and I took an average salary in the Netherlands. So in average, most people have a net income of around 2,300 euro net, which is around 10,000 RON net. That makes a gross salary of 3,000. Then they have at least 20 holidays. And here comes the interesting thing. In Holland, you have to pay always 8% extra holiday allowance to your staff. Or if you are employed, on top of your gross salary, you always get 8% extra holiday allowance, and companies should pay that in April or May every year, or you can get it every month. But usually you will get it in April or May. Then the company contributions, and then the total salary cost is around 4,200 euro. So what is net of 2,300 is nearly doubled as a total salary cost. Then an interesting thing is sick leave. Sick leave is what you pay. So if your employee is sick the first day, you have to pay directly at least 70 or 80% of that person's salary on their account. And you can't get it from the state. So the state doesn't take care of that at all. So if people who work for you and they are sick for 30 days, you just pay all those 30 days by yourself. You can insure this through private insurance companies, but that's very costly. So this is a big cost, and you should always make a good accrual because that's very, very expensive. The medical insurance is neither paid from the taxes and social contributions which the employee pays. The medical insurance is only provided by commercial companies, and the employee pays it. And usually the insurances are between 90 euro to 150 euro per month. And how does companies do that? That is that they make a collective agreement with an insurance company, which is always cheaper for the employee. They pay the insurance on behalf of the employee, and it is deducted from the monthly salary payments. So the medical insurance is paid by the employee. The funny thing is if you have a company car and the employee is allowed to use it privately, then 20% of the price is added to the gross salary. So 20%, so imagine the car, the price of the car is 50,000 euro. 20% of 50,000 euro is 10,000 euro is added to the gross salary. And this 10,000 which is added, the person pays 30%, for example, extra taxes. So that would be an amount of 1,500 euro extra, which the person pays. And as I think it is also the case in Romania, and in Romania, the tax authority doesn't check it. But in Holland, the tax authority checks it into detail. So if you drive a company car, but you don't use it privately, you have to have a meticulously good driving sheet wherever you have been. And the Dutch tax authority is making pictures, millions and millions of pictures on the roads in the Netherlands to check whether your driving schedule fits with what they have pictured, with the pictures they made from your car. Because all cars are many times photographed during a year. So they have automated it and they check into detail. So the average salary gross per year is in Holland 36,500 gross per year. The minimum salaries in the Netherlands are as follows. The minimum salary count starts at 15. So if you are 15, you are allowed to work. And then you get 500 euro net, 735 gross. And if you go to the supermarkets in the Netherlands, you see most of the people who work in supermarkets in the Netherlands are 16, 17, and 18 years. Because they are the cheapest to be legally employed. Because a 16-year-old person for a full-time job earns 845 euro gross, and 16 and 17. 21 years is already 2,450 the total cost, right? So these are the minimum salaries. You are not allowed to employ people under this minimum. In many sectors, they also have collective labor agreements, and collective labor agreements are, again, a little bit higher than the minimum salaries. And if there is a collective labor agreement, you are also not allowed to pay under that collective labor agreement. Then the really cool part in the Netherlands about labor contracts and how you can employ people. The labor market is made very flexible. The employment of people is made very flexible by the Dutch government. And as an employer, you can make 3 times a definite contract in maximum 2 years. So that's pretty basic. With indefinite contracts, you can only give a 2 months notice period. After that, you have to pay off the person. But you also have in Holland a 0-hour contract. So you can employ a person, but you only pay the person if he or she works per hour. So if they work 49 hours, then you pay 49 hours. If they work 200 hours, you pay 200. If they are sick, you don't pay them nothing. So a 0-hour contract it's called, and that is of course very nice, both for students, both for people who want to try out a variety of jobs, and it's great for the employer because they stay very flexible. You call that, you also have the agency clause. The agency clause has 3 phases. Phase A, which is the first 78 weeks. And during these 78 weeks, you don't pay the person if they are sick. So you only pay again like the 0-hour contract. Phase B is for 2 years. You can make 8 contracts with a limited notice period. And only in phase C, the person gets their indefinite labor contract. And once a person has an indefinite labor contract, if you have to fire the person, you can pay between 2 to 5 times the gross monthly salary. If the person has a break of 26 weeks, which is half a year, then you can go back again to phase A. So, if you would work in the Netherlands, how would you make a difference in the Netherlands? If you being Romanian? Well, first of all, you will make a difference because you are happy, you are creative, you can improvise, you are hardworking, and you are passionate. And although Dutch people score very high in the top most happy nations in the world, you know, I find the joie de vivre, the joy of life from Romanian people, of course, that is unrivaled. It's always fun in Romania, and always something is happening. It's always a very exciting environment. So if you will go to Holland, people will just love you, just because you are so passionate and with a temperament. But if you want to make it in Holland, I think you should work terribly hard. But that is not a problem for Romanian people, because you know our operations in Romania, we are operating in 12 countries. Our operations in Romania are the best of the best, and it's incredible what a wonderful, great team we have. You know, they beat every record, and they are just leading in sales and marketing. They are leading in creativity, and especially the improvisation, the skills to improvise and to adapt. The flexibility is just enormous. So that is how you can make a difference in the Netherlands. But make sure you organize your workflows, because if you have a company in the Netherlands, you have to be efficient as tech, right? You have to outsource all you can. If you go to the Netherlands, you have to stay lean and mean, because you have to play the rules of the game the way they are played in the Netherlands, and you will always lose from companies who outsource more than you do, right? So you focus on that, what you are good at, and all the other stuff you outsource. It is important to be 100% compliant. The controlling bodies, tax, have no mercy. Police, if they stop you for a penalty, there is no escape. You can't negotiate. You just have to pay. And don't try to get away with it, or don't even try to bribe or pay some money, because that will be the end of your existence in the Netherlands. Also, controlling bodies. There is no place for corruption. There is no place for trying to bend the rules a little bit. You know, controlling bodies, tax, have no mercy. A lot of the tax authorities have a lot automized, so payments, and if you pay too late, you immediately get a reminder. If you still pay too late, you get an automatic penalty, which becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. So be 100% compliant, because they really have no mercy. Clients have no mercy either. So you always have to do a great job. And of course, everybody makes mistakes, but remind that clients have no mercy. Competitors have no mercy either. You have to be innovative. You have to be kind. You have to be totally service-oriented. And here comes, of course, where you can make a difference. Because the Romanian culture is charming, and it's nice, and it's funny, and it's a happy, a temperamental culture. And yeah, Dutch are probably just much more cold or from a distance than Romanians can be. So there you can make a great difference. And be patient. Make a difference, just be patient. Work hard and results will always come. And beware that if you will work in Holland, that many clients are very loyal with you until they can just buy cheaper. But I think that being a foreigner in Holland is an advantage, because Dutch people like to speak English. Dutch people like to like other cultures, and it is very easy for a foreigner to get meetings with companies. And especially if you will use your Romanian charm, and you have it, then you will find Dutch companies very inviting, and they would love to give it a try with you. So that is about it, what I could share with you in this little hour. Do you have any questions?
No questions, but thank you for a beautiful multicultural and cultural insight of the Netherlands. It was absolutely a pleasure to hear that.
Thank you too. And is anybody from you considering to work in the Netherlands or to start a business in Holland? Have you been in the Netherlands? Coup piacere, Liliana.
Thank you very much, Hera, for this nice presentation and for all the useful information that we received today. If we don't have any questions, you don't forget that you can address them via the email info@nrcc.ro, and they will send them directly to Hera. And thank you very much for attending this webinar today. Thank you again, Gerard, for being here with us in Lugera. And please do not forget that tomorrow we have 2 more webinars, one starting at 11:30 regarding legal hints on expanding your business into the Netherlands, and one starting with 3:30 p.m. on cultural differences on the work floor.